If you support me on Patreon, or if you're thinking about supporting me on Patreon, hang around till the very end. I have a little bit of news for you. But back to the hi-fi. Hello and welcome to this week's review, this week's hi-fi review, and we're looking at a product from a UK company called Leema. This particular one is called the Stream 4. It's a sort of all-in-one affair, mixing CD play and also streaming into the Stream 4 in a single chassis. The price for this one is £2,295. And as I say, it's an all-in-one, isn't it? Well, sort of, grant you that. A digital all-in-one might be more exact. A digital hub, if you like your keywords. While there's no internal amplifier, there is an integrated CD player combined with a network-based streamer, controlled by either a phone or tablet-based app or a physical remote control, and the whole thing is based upon an ESS Sabre 918 chip. For Leema specifically, the chassis is relatively svelte and elegant, even though it might be considered quite substantial for most companies out there. I say svelte and elegant, you see, because I'm used to Leema boxes that look like tanks and are twice as heavy. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. Leema is good at offering their customers 70s era level of perceived value and a 70s era level of build quality. They tend to be industrial, they tend to be massy, they tend to be heavy. This is hi-fi for men. But look, before we go any further, I think we need to talk techie, and the place we do that is when we take a closer look. And welcome to the closer look section for the Leema Stream 4 CD player and streamer combined into one sexy chassis. And it's a surprise that the Stream 4 knocks the dimensions down along with the weight for a typical Leema product, that is. So we are looking at 435mm by 95 by 330mm, and in old money you're talking around 17 by 4 by 13 inches. That includes a weight of 5.5 kilograms, or about 12 pounds in weight, I would say, in old money, which is still pretty reasonable, but positively buoyant compared to normal Leema fare. Oh, and I didn't get the specifications you've just seen from the manual, which is lacking in terms of information and is pretty poor in terms of production values, especially at this price point. It looks like it's been printed on Dad's colour printer as part of a snotty oiks weekend homework. I'm not impressed. Leema has been producing substandard manuals for years, and I've been telling them off about it for years. So please, Leema, sort it out. The front of the chassis is topped by a slim CD tray. The far right shows a large rotary knob. You press this thing in for 3 seconds to switch on the unit itself. You press the knob in for 1 second to eject the CD tray. Now, I dislike this because I kept getting my timings wrong and was turning the unit on standby when I really wanted to access the CD tray. Now, I got the rhythm in the end, sure, but I shouldn't have had to do this in the first place. Please, just give me 2 small buttons, for goodness sake, a power button and an eject button. and I'll be a happy chappy. Rotating this same button provides a slow, fast reverse scan. So lots to do with that one knob, but we ain't finished yet because you get another knob on the far left with more complex instructions. So you press this knob in for 1 second to play the CD. Pressing the CD when it's actually running pauses the CD play. Pressing the knob for 3 seconds stops CD play and enables the streamer. Rotating the knob anti-clockwise zips through the tracks in reverse order, but rotating the knob clockwise runs through tracks in play order. Good grief. Again, Leema, why couldn't you just give us a bunch of simple buttons or switches, clearly labelled and simple to use? Look, you can really ignore just about everything I've said, because if you really want to control this unit and control it simply, then use the included remote control. It's solid, it's small-ish, but it's straightforward to use. Personally, I'd go with that. The rear of the chassis looks a lot less eccentric. There's a pair of analog outputs. You get a coax port and an optical, and there's also a USB-A port for thumb drives. You'll also find an Ethernet port and twin Wi-Fi antennas to encourage a stable signal, and it was as well. So, an awful lot going on this chassis. But how does this thing actually sound? Well, let's zip over quietly but confidently to the sound quality tests and we will find out. And welcome to the sound quality tests for the Leema Stream 4. And to begin those tests, I grabbed myself a CD, a self-titled CD from a group called Design. This is an expanded 50th anniversary release from the Vacancy label, and it's packed with sunshine pop that covers content from 1971 to around 1972. The music on this CD features complex vocal harmonies. This is a UK outfit of male and female members. The six-piece outfit itself, well, oddly enough, it consists of, well, no, let's rewind that, shall we? It mainly consists, not all of them, but mainly consists of ex-BBC staff. Now, that's interesting because the founders of Leema itself, well, they are ex-BBC staff. So, you see, this review malarkey does have some planning after all. Now, I began with the track Coloured Mile. That features percussion, a rather lively bass guitarist who's quietly freaking out in the corner. You get some orchestral brass, secondary percussion, or tambourine to you and me, and acoustic guitar. So, plenty for the Leema to get to grips with here. To begin, I looked at the CD portion of the Stream 4 and I compared it to my Audiolab 6000 CDT transport configuration with a fairly high-end DAC on the other end, which, when combined, amounted to a similar price to the Stream 4. Now, I have to say right now, this comparison, in my opinion, is a little unfair, but I felt that I had to do it because I knew the question would arise at one point or another from you, dear viewer. Hence, I compared the two, the Audiolab setup and the Leema setup, just for the record. Now, let's recall here, shall we? The 6000 CDT is a specialist CD transport with a high-end DAC connected with a high-end audiophile cable too. Even the CDT's coax port has denoising technologies applied to it. Then there's the isolating effects of separating the products, the transport, the cable, and the DAC. Add all this together, and what you get? Well, The Stream 4 was surprisingly good, that's what. It wasn't as good as the Audiolab setup, but to be frank, I didn't think it would be. I've already completed this sort of test in the past when I originally reviewed the CDT, so I had the feeling that the upper mids from the Stream 4 would be a little bit noisy when compared to the CDT, and that was the case. Now, my CDT setup has bested specialist integrated CD players costing between £2,000 and £3,000. I'm talking about players that do nothing else but play CDs. And let's remember, the Stream 4 is packed, yes, with a CD transport and a DAC, but it's also got streaming equipment in that same chassis, so high frequency noise is bound to be relatively higher in the Stream 4 than a specialist CD player. So the results were expected. No blame can be placed on the Stream 4 here. It's the nature of the beast, you might say. So, moving on. In general terms, the Stream 4 offered excellent CD performance. I was most impressed by its general performance. And when I say that, without getting into specifics, for an integrated CD player, the Stream 4 provided a pretty neutral and balanced performance. There wasn't a hint of brightness, and for an integrated player, there was no edgy upper mids. Frequency discipline was pretty good, and I never felt that the bass encroached into the mid-range area. It never artificially boosted the mids or masked treble. In fact, if anything, the Stream 4 was slightly smoothing in the mid-range. Not actually warm or sweet or anything like that, but it just prodded a little in that direction. Many listeners will love the sonic approach from the Stream 4. So how does the Stream 4 actually compare to other specialist CD players? Well, I brought one in from, oddly enough, Leema. One that I thoroughly recommend, actually. This one is priced around £1,500 and it's called the Leema Elements. Actually, it's a little under that figure, but it performs very well for that price. During play, the Elements provided a similar sonic delivery to the Stream 4. I could almost hear a sort of house sound here, with a broadly neutral presentation, edging slightly towards the warming area, but just a little bit. Both the Elements and Stream 4 were very pleasant indeed, almost old school in sound terms. The Elements CD player did offer a lower noise floor during play though. Both the mid-range and treble didn't offer the same hint of high frequency noise that I did hear on the Stream 4, but again, that was to be expected because there's no streaming equipment sitting cheek by jowl in the Elements chassis as there is in the Stream 4 chassis. But that's not all. While the Elements may have provided a lower noise floor, the Stream 4 did offer a superior overall performance in terms of mid-range insight and detailed presentation. So reverb or echo effects from the acoustic guitar on this track was more apparent on the Stream 4. There was more space around the soundstage from the Stream 4, while bass had a greater impact than the Elements. The Stream 4 produced bass with a real sense of focus and precision, so there were swings and roundabouts here when comparing the Stream 4 to an integrated CD player performance. To solve the noise floor issue from the Stream 4, I would look at adding grounding accessories when you have the cash, which will suck out a lot of that noise to enhance the sonics further. And by all means, give me a shout in the comments, either now or much later on when you get the cash, and I'll give you some further information. I then turned to the streaming itself, and I hooked the Stream 4 to my home-based Wi-Fi network via the wired connection to maximize the sound quality. I controlled the audio with the recommended M-Connect app, which you can download via iOS or Android. Once the app had found the Leema, which took a second or two, I first played Nina Simone's Love Me or Leave Me and remembered just how good the Leema streaming hardware is. I've come across the streaming hardware from Leema in the past. It's been a little while since I've heard it, and it was nice to hear it again because, well, I was pretty floored, to be honest with you. Streaming from this product, well, it was quite superb, considering the sound file I was listening to was a lossy affair and thus crippled even before it got out of the gate. The sonic presentation from the Leema was pretty darn civilized. Surprisingly so, in fact. The sense of clarity certainly raised my eyebrows in those first few seconds of listening. Simone, well, she was full of her usual eccentricities when she was performing in the studio as she was on this track. She just didn't care. She just did her thing. So little noises made by her mouth, her breathing, and piano style were all distinctly her. A lot of these traits made it through the Leema, which was quite a surprise for a lossy file. The soundstage was pretty quiet, even in tone, with lots of space on offer, while the piano itself, which is a pretty horrendous instrument to translate by any hi-fi system, was effectively tamed here, well, as best as you can via a streamed lossy file. This initial test was a tough test, but the Leema passed it with flying colours. Playing a selection of songs from the band Can via Cobos continued to prove the point in sonic terms, adding to the joy from the streaming medium as bass offered a firm, solid foundation, adding weight and impact, while the upper frequencies, specifically via the electric guitar and the vocals, not only provided an impressive degree of excitement, but also some measure of considered emotion to the performance. Next up, I switched to a more physical source and I inserted a USB stick into the rear of the chassis and played ripped files from the relatively recent John Foxx album Howl, plus a selection of tracks from a selection of LPs from the Byrds. The USB stick didn't suffer from quite as much high-frequency noise as the CD player, mainly because this particular USB stick literally sat outside the chassis, so there was an element of isolation there. Although the actual output didn't have the same level of sophistication as offered by the CD player. If I was being hypercritical, I would say that the mids were a little tense from the USB. Imagine scrunching your shoulders and holding that position. That's how the mid-range kind of sounded. The internal CD player didn't really do that. It roamed around a larger space, enjoying the extra room to maneuver. As I say, that was my super picky opinion when comparing it to the CD player. In broader terms, the sound from the USB stick remained very good indeed. If you hadn't have heard the CD, then there was really nothing obviously wrong with the USB stick. It did an awful lot of things right. The disciplined frequencies, the crisp bass output, the evenly toned mids, and the decent treble. So, after all of that, how do I conclude the review for the Leema Stream 4? In broad terms then, the Leema Stream 4 is pretty easy to use, works well, and sounds, in general terms, excellent. It has none of the confusing complication of many modern competing streamers and network hardware that you tend to find on the market today. Some of those competitors look like they're being ripped from the Starship Enterprise. They're full of buttons and switches and knobs, and they look and they sound quite complicated. The simplicity of the Stream 4 when controlled by the remote, well, it's quite refreshing, I would say. In fact, that in itself should be a big selling point. The sonic performance from the CD player is very good indeed, and if you added a couple of noise-sucking grounding accessories, then the CD player sound would certainly blossom. The streaming performance, well, that is, as I say, quite superb. Let's also remember that the Stream 4 is effectively an all-in-one, so a higher noise floor is really to be expected, but it also means you've got a smaller footprint for those lacking in viable space. You save money by buying all of those components in one go, and obviously you don't have any cabling headaches to contend with. So there's a lot going for the Stream 4. If you look at the Stream 4 overall in terms of use, convenience and performance, the Stream 4 is a cracking little product and I highly recommend it. I'd just like to thank you for staying to the end of this video, and thank you very much for all of your support. I really do appreciate it. If you haven't done so already, could I ask you, that was the down there motion, incidentally. Could you, I'll do it again. Could you click somewhere around there? I must find out where they are because I have to do this, don't I, all of the time. It's somewhere down there. The like and also subscribe buttons, please, if that's all right. In the description, there are chapter headings if you want to navigate around this video. There's also links to my website and other social media platforms that I sit within. And Patreon, well, yes, I mentioned a new feature at the beginning of the vid, didn't I? So I have a new feature for higher tier Patreon supporters. Recently, you may have seen that I announced my hi-fi tour. That's for all tier members, £4 and £8. So if you support me on my Patreon page at those tiers, you have access to the new hi-fi tour. The first part of that is out now, second part is in the works. But if you support me on the £8 tier, well, I just wanted to say a special thank you because, after all, that's an over and above level of support, and I think that deserves singling out a little bit. So what I'm doing now is organising a little bit of content for those tier members, the £8 tier supporters. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to introduce a series of hi-fi previews, and basically I'm still working it out, put it that way. But basically I will be giving sneaky peeky preview videos of varying lengths, not too long, maybe 5-6 minutes, maybe a bit less, maybe more, I don't know. I reckon the first one is, well, I think the first one will be a lot more, actually. However, these will come in terms of, I don't know, what stuff I'm going to be reviewing in the near future, say, or maybe even that week, or maybe even a month's time, or maybe I might not even do it at all, but this is a possibility. It'll vary. So it might be a sort of unboxing thing, or I might just bring items to camera, or you'll get sneaky peeks if you're on that £8 tier. The first product will be, in effect, a prototype. It won't be the finished product. It won't be the finished reviewable product. It'll be, as I say, an early prototype. So I'm quite lucky to get a hold of this one. I do hope to review it when it's in a finished state, of course, but I thought it might be nice to give you a sort of early bird sneaky peek. And that's what episode 1 of the Patreon previews, unless I find a better name, but Patreon previews for now, that'll be video 1, episode 1 of that £8 tier special feature video thing. Well, production values on this will be rock bottom. There'll be no fancy B-roll or fancy titling. It'll just be me talking to camera, lots of ers and ums and that kind of thing, and unedited and uncensored. And, you know, I'll be winging it, basically. So that'll be the level. That's the only way I can do this to save time. That's the only way I can manage to get these videos done. Anyway, I've rambled on, haven't I? So check out the £8 tier level on Patreon if you would like to check those out. When this video goes live, I should have at least an introductory video to that whole thing. So if you are able to support me right now on the £8 tier, you should at least see this introductory, I suppose, episode 0, I suppose you'd call it. And the actual first episode will follow very soon after this actual video goes live. It might already be there. I'm not sure, because I'm doing this video a couple of days ago, as it were. You're seeing it. When are you seeing it? I think you're seeing this on Sunday. Well, I will have done this a few days ago, so I ain't too sure. Check it out anyway. Anyway, I need to stop talking. So, and I need to have a cup of coffee, I think. Tea, coffee, whiskey, I don't know. So that's it, folks. I will see you when? I will see you, it's Tuneful Tuesday, isn't it? I will see you on Tuneful Tuesday. And you're looking at a magazine, I think. We have vinyl news, we have a couple of books, and we have a couple of vinyl albums to review. It'll be a lot of fun, a lot of fun, as we say in Liverpool, because we all talk like Cilla Black. Anyway, I will talk to you very soon, and I hope to have your company. Until then, folks, bye-bye for now.